Thank you all for joining us today. I'm Mayor Ashley Stolzman, and I'm so sorry to have to be getting together with you all like this. On behalf of the entire City Council, I just want to extend our deepest and most heartfelt sympathies during this incredibly difficult time. The entire City Council would love to be here to hear from everyone. We are here today because we want to hear from you. And just through our meetings rules, we can only have 2 folks at a time. So I will be dropping off and your ward reps will be here for you. But if you have any comments for any members of council, all our emails are posted and we'd love to hear from you. We recognize this unimaginable loss that you've suffered and can't begin to understand how you're feeling. We're here to hear from you today, and we want you to be part of the community back. You are part of the community. We want you to be back in the community, rebuilt as quick as possible. It's still a state of an emergency. We don't have all the answers, but our council and staff are working diligently to work toward getting answers. And so this virtual neighborhood listening session for you is to help us understand what some of the questions are and some of the things you're still going through. We want to hear directly from you and the immediate challenges you're facing. And so we're going to give a very brief information at the front of the meeting just to answer some of the frequent questions that we're receiving right now. And then we'll turn it right over to you to start to hear from you. This meeting is 60 minutes, and so we'll get through as many folks as we can, and we'll give you email addresses that you can send additional questions to. I just, anything that you need from me in this really challenging time, please don't hesitate to email and call, and we're going to get through this together. We're a very strong community, and together we're going to rebuild. So I'm going to turn it over to Council Members Fahey and Most to host the meeting, and thank you all.
Okay, are you on it? We're having trouble hearing her. Okay. All right, are you on, Deb? I still can't hear. Well, I hope Deb can hear us and listen in. Why don't we have you, Jeff, our city manager, Jeff Durbin, start with his overview of what is going on.
Sure thing. I'd be happy to, councilors. First, I can't think of a more tragic and heartbreaking way to start a new job. I started this role here with Louisville right on the end of the year in the middle of this tragedy. And I'm heartbroken by it. I'm really honored to be here and working to serve this community and help. Louisville is a strong community, and we will recover. So we're going to go through a few staff updates. We'll try to keep this brief so we can allow more time for questions, and we look forward to hearing from you. First of all, on evacuation order and re-entry, hopefully you have all heard that those hard closure areas have been opened back up to property owners. If you don't already have a placard, please go by Ascent Church, where we have a station set up for you to pick up a placard for entry into these areas. We're maintaining access control and having patrols through those neighborhoods for security and trying to keep people out that don't belong there because of safety concerns. But we want to have an opportunity for you to get in there to see your property and start your own personal recovery. If you have, excuse me, friends or family members or insurance adjusters that you want to accompany you, we can accommodate your needs. Just again, stop by the Ascent Church. When you do go into your neighborhood, use extreme caution. There's still a lot of debris on the roadways. There's still a lot of debris on the properties. With the snow out there, it's gonna be hard to see. So really be careful, moving about through those neighborhoods. Public Works is working to get in there and, we're looking at a magnet to go in and pick up all the nails and those type of things, but just do be careful. I understand that there were some failures in our reverse 911 and our evacuation process. This is very concerning to me, and we will be working diligently in our after action debrief to understand exactly what happened, so we can make sure that never happens again. So please know this is very concerning to us. Both the chiefs, fire chief and police chief, are equally concerned as I am. So we will be working to better understand how we can avoid those things in the future. With that, I'll turn it over to Deputy City Manager Megan Davis for some comments.
Thank you. I would just also like to echo the comments and express my deepest sympathy to those on the call. I know some of you personally, and this is a very difficult time, and just want to share that the city and our staff are here for you. Staff are working in any way we can to try to address your questions and needs, and please, we want you to reach out anytime. And if we can't help you and can't answer your questions, we'll try to get you connected with whatever you need. I'm going to start with a little information about communication. We are really working to communicate both with the broader community and also want to be communicating specifically with those who experienced loss of home or damaged homes. So we're developing a list of residents whose homes were lost or who have damage to their homes. And if you received the email with this meeting already, personally on your email, we should have your email address. If you didn't, and perhaps one of your neighbors passed it on to you or someone told you about this meeting and you'd like to be added to that list, we would like to have that information so that we can continue to outreach directly to each of the neighborhoods in this manner as we have more information to share as we move forward with recovery and rebuilding. If you could please send your email to our Marshall Fire email address, which is marshallfire, all one word, at louisvilleco.gov. You can also call our call line and let them know that you want your name added to the email list, and that's 720-824-3100. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about debris removal. We know that debris removal is one of the top questions and issues that people are focused on and interested in. We don't have all the answers at this time. We're still developing the debris removal plan and process for the significant amount of debris that will have to be addressed within the burned areas. What we know is this is a 3-phase process. Right now, we're still in phase 1 of this debris removal process. We're working basically now to address the spoiled food in dumpsters. So that's the first phase, is to have the availability for people who were evacuated and were able to return to their homes to be able to clear out that debris. The second phase of debris removal is much larger, and we're working to coordinate all of the debris removal with the agencies and organizations that were affected across the entire Marshall Fire. So Boulder County, Town of Superior, and City of Louisville. We want to work together and coordinate the debris removal for several reasons. It's more efficient. We can address the public health issues related to all of the debris in a more consistent manner and consistent with CDPHE's guidelines and regulations. And also could be more cost effective for homeowners as we move forward. So phase 2 will be underway in the next 2 weeks, and this will include the clearing of all debris from the right-of-ways in the neighborhoods where the severe damage has occurred. So that means any vehicles, burned up garbage cans, items like that that are in the right-of-way will be cleared out through that debris removal process. So if you have a vehicle that was in front of your home that you're concerned about, that would be included in this process. Phase 3, again, we don't have a lot of information about what this coordination will look like, but we're working with the partners and with FEMA to determine if we can do a coordinated effort to remove everything from the home site, including the foundations. And again, this would give us the ability to manage the public health and hazardous materials issues associated with those home sites. We'll share more information as soon as we have it, and we're working as quickly as we can because we know that you all want to move quickly in your rebuilding efforts. So we'll share information as soon as we have it around where we are in that process. Just a little bit about trash and utilities. The hard closure areas, so those areas where the homes were damaged or destroyed are not being serviced at this time for trash, and water and trash utility accounts with the cities have been automatically canceled. So you don't have to worry about getting a water bill, any water bill, building up, or any water that was utilized during the fire and when your home was damaged. Also, we know the assessor is currently working to address and lower the total valuation of the homes that were involved in the fire as well. I want to just recognize and thank our the many jurisdictions that have come to help us during this time. During the response, you probably saw people and vehicles from all over, agencies all over the Front Range, and we've continued to get support from our neighboring jurisdictions as we start to move towards continuing to manage the crisis. And so, we know that you all have been helping one another through this. This is neighbors helping neighbors, and we're very grateful that we have agencies and organizations across the Front Range who have just leapt in to help us in any way that we can. And we'll continue to be partnering with them as we move forward so that we can learn from them and also leverage any resource opportunities that come our way. So I'm going to turn it over to City Manager Durbin again.
Thank you. One of the things that I want to note is the tireless work that all of the city employees have been putting into helping and serving this community. As a relatively new person here, it's been remarkable for me to see the work that these teams have put into taking care of our community. So I want to thank them for that. And for you, I want you to know that this entire organization is committed to recovery. We're here for you. We will recover, and we're going to do our darndest to get there as soon as possible. The library is open. We have computers, Wi-Fi, and printers available for you if you need those type of resources. The rec center is open. We have water bottles there and meals, lunches, if you're in need of those services. Our public works department is working diligently on our water system and taking care of our streets and the snow plowing and those type of things. Our police department, I don't even need to talk about all the work that they've been doing because you've seen it out there. And then just know that all the folks here at City Hall are continuing to be here. This building's open to the public as well. So we're here for you, and we are working diligently on this recovery. With that said, I'd like to turn it over to our interim planning director, Lisa Ritchie.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lisa Ritchie. I'm the Interim Director of Planning and Building Safety. I just want to let you know that there's no words to express my sorrow for you all. And I know many of you personally, being a Superior and now Louisville resident for 13 years, or through my work here as the city. So I want you to know that I see your faces and your families and your homes in my mind as we all work together as fast as we can to get you back home. So I'm here to provide a little bit of an update on what we're doing here within our department on this. The biggest priority up to date has been damage assessment. So damage assessment teams have compiled a preliminary list last week, and they've been updating those numbers all this week of structures that were destroyed or damaged. Boulder County released a map with these properties yesterday. There's a link to it on the city's website. The most current number of destroyed homes in Louisville is 552, with 45 additional homes with damage. There is a link on the city's website, though, if you need to self-report a damaged or destroyed structure. As you know, sometimes these embers flew farther than maybe we expected. And so if we've missed something, please reach out and let us know. Damage assessments, again, remain ongoing. These numbers still remain preliminary, and contact our department with any questions on the most recent damage assessment information. Next, a number of you have placards placed on your homes, depending on the level of damage or if your property is destroyed. And I just want to let you know, please reach out to our department directly regarding any information or questions you have on those placards, particularly those with damage. Those I think we're going to be working with you on a case-by-case basis to understand the impact and what work needs to happen, and how we can get you home as well. The best way to reach our department on this is 303-335-4584, or by email at building@louisvilleco.gov. So I also wanted to let you know that we're looking at the rebuilding process, our permitting requirements. We will have more information on that in the coming days and weeks. We don't have any, all of our decisions yet, but we do understand everyone is really interested in getting started. A lot of things we're looking at is to make sure we can do this as most efficiently and safely as possible for you all. We are planning on online meetings next Tuesday for affected homeowners, as well as the building professional community, to learn and talk more about the rebuilding process. So we'll have meetings dedicated to that as early as next week. Please look out for email invitations to the affected homeowners and for the building professional community just through our communication channels. As well as in the coming weeks, we will be looking at potential building code and policy changes, again, to help you all get home in the most efficient, safe, and effective manner. So that's, those are our highest priorities here in our department. Turn it back over to you, City Manager Jeff.
Thank you. At this point, economic vitality expert Megan Pierce has an update for us.
Good afternoon. Just to let you all know that my thoughts are with you. It continues to be an honor to serve the city of Louisville and look forward to our work on supporting you in this time. The Disaster Assistance Center is set up at 1755 South Public Road in Lafayette, and that's one of the first things we encourage you to do. It's really set up to be a one-stop shop for all those residents who have lost a home or who have had severe fire damage. The Assistance Center is open daily, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. There's information there with the state, with FEMA, all the insurance carriers, Health and Human Services. There are also companies and organizations there that have donations for clothing, housing, financial assistance. So really encourage you to go there early, align those resources, have those conversations. The city also has a table at the Assistance Center, and we would like you to stop by because, as was mentioned, one of the things we're doing is creating a mapped list of all of those that did lose their homes so that we have the best way to communicate with you going forward. Through that system, we'll also track any questions or concerns that you have that we may not be able to answer, or that we can go source that information for you. So the city table is staffed the entire time that the Assistance Center is open, so you can always find one of us there. And then if you meet one of us there, or you have a question outside of that, what we're asking you to do is get in touch with our call center. So the number is 720-824-3100, or you can email Marshall Fire, all one word, at louisvilleco.gov. Back to you, City Manager Durbin.
Thank you. Just a couple things that I want to clarify between planning, building, and my earlier comments about access. If you're looking to gain access into these neighborhoods and you have a partially damaged or uncertain about a structure, and you are looking to get inside and see what the status is, contact our building department. They're happy to get out there with you and make sure it's a safe entry into the structure. Also, if you want to bring your insurance agent along or have a contractor you want to bring along, take them over to the Ascent Church there so that they can get a placard as well, and we can accommodate you on that, or other family members or those type of things. One last thing I have is there's 112 people on this, and they're just, in terms of your questions and your privacy and so forth, there may be media or news on this call as well, so just be aware of that. And with that, our city clerk Muth will be facilitating the question and answer session for us. Clerk?
Hello, everyone. If you have a question, please hit the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. If you're on the phone, you can hit the *9 button and that will raise a hand on our end so we can see it. I would like to say we are asking that the questions only come from residents. We're not taking questions or comments from businesses today. So if you're a business, please hold on for another time for that. With that, I'm going to call on our first person, who is Audrey.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for hosting this meeting. I really appreciate you convening us early in this effort. I really encourage you, and it sounds like you already have plans to really heighten communication so that we're receiving official information from you all. I live at 839 West Mulberry Street. My house was the demarcation house between those that were saved and those that were lost. And as such, we have a red placard on the outside of our house from the city saying "Do not enter." There are, I was wondering if at any time we will be allowed to enter just for some items that we were hoping to try to confiscate or get back, I should say. And then secondly, the mayor did address a question I personally had regarding reverse 911 and how we were notified. I was notified by a fire truck and an ambulance coming down my street with their sirens on, and that was it. And I didn't know if that was official or unofficial. It just was very disturbing, and I thought I should act. So I think clear communication around what happened there, because the neighborhoods around us, we were texting each other trying to figure out what we should be doing. Was this the real deal? Was it coming to Louisville? Was it not? So I think just clarity around that would really answer some questions. Thank you again for this opportunity. And I did want to express my sorrow for Councilmember Fahey, who also lost her home. Thank you.
Yeah, Audrey, again, I'd suggest you contact our building department, and they'll be happy to schedule some time out there with you to see if it's safe to get into that structure for those purposes.
Absolutely. For any questions on those placards, any of you with our phone numbers, please feel free to reach out directly, and we are certainly happy to help figure out your own personal situation. So thanks for being here today, Audrey. Sorry you're here today, Audrey.
Next in the queue is Mike.
Hi, everyone. I guess my question is, do we have a feel yet for our foundations? Are they likely to be too bad to use? Are they likely to be reusable? Just wondering if any inspections have happened or if we're still too early in the process. Thank you.
Yeah, hi, Mike. So given the heat of this fire, all the indications are so far that those foundations are probably going to be salvageable. So we're working through a determination as to whether our building official can make that call or not, and then we also would be willing to work with people if they want to bring in an engineer to confirm that, to evaluate it and so forth. So you'll see more details on that here in the next, by I would say early next week, hopefully.
Thank you.
Next in the queue is Dan. Dan, I think you need to unmute on your end. There you go.
Yep, thank you. Yeah, Dan Harvey, live at 118 Cherrywood. Unfortunately, my house was a total loss. I guess my question is, and as it turns out, I'm also one of the attorneys for the town of Superior, so I know Lisa well. How you doing, Lisa? So my question is, I guess, what type of municipal land use ideas, I guess, are being floated around? Is I'm not as familiar with the Louisville's government, but is there a urban renewal authority, and is there any kind of talk about designated these areas that are completely destroyed, and or are there kind of other mechanisms that are being considered at this point to kind of spur development of those properties that are entire losses? I mean, because obviously we're kind of wrestling with insurance and mortgages and all that. So certainly any kind of input on that would be helpful.
Hi, Dan. I'm sorry you're here today. From a policy perspective, I think we're taking in any and all ideas on that. We are coordinating with all of our, agencies, including DOLA and the county and the state and FEMA and everything we can do. We don't have a lot of specific information to share at this time on programs that we're developing, but just any and all ideas welcome.
Great. Thanks, Lisa.
Mhm.
Next in the queue is Paul. I think you've unmuted on your end, but we can't hear you. Still can't hear you, sorry. Paul, perhaps if you want to log off and come back on. Unfortunately, we're not able to hear you with your current microphone. I'll keep an eye for you in the queue though, and I'm going to move on to the next one. Next in the queue is a phone number ending in 6878. You'll need to unmute on your end. It's a phone number, area code 415 and ending in.
Yep.
There you go.
Got it. Yeah, thank you. My name is Mark. My house was destroyed on Arapahoe Circle. So is there a schedule for debris removal? Because we would like to try to see if we can find some remnants of some objects. Hello?
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to unmute there. So we've got some information, some guidance on our website on the Marshall Fire page about safety and other guidelines for accessing your property and looking through that debris, if you will.
Yeah.
Have you seen that yet? If you haven't, I would point you there. And just urge a lot of caution in terms of there still are some hot spots out there. There's snow covering a lot of sharp, pointy objects out there too.
Right. I was wondering if there's a schedule. Yeah.
A schedule for when you can get on the property?
No, a schedule for the debris removal by the city. Did I miss that?
Deputy City Manager, do you want to
Sure.
tackle?
Yeah, so we do not have a schedule yet for the actual phase 3, which is for the residences and the debris on the private property and the foundations. The phase 2 piece, which is what's in the right of way, we expect will happen in the next 2 weeks. And I hope that during that time, when we have that phase underway, we will begin to have a much better sense of how that phase 3 will happen. And again, we're hoping that we're able to do a coordinated approach around debris removal for all of the homes. And so we'll provide information as quickly as we have it possible, as quickly as possible around that schedule and the timing of the phases.
Okay, and I want to follow up on a couple of other questions. The question about the foundation, that would include the floor, the cement floor, right? Being evaluated.
Like for a slab on grade, I assume you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely.
No, the base, like a basement slab.
Oh, yeah, that would be, I would assume that would be, my understanding, I should say, is in the same condition.
Okay, and then I want to follow up on Audrey's comment about the evacuation alert. We didn't receive any notification. The neighbor notified us that he was seeing flames. That's how we were evacuated. And Arapahoe Circle's just over the hill from the fire station, and I've heard the testing of the emergency system for years, and yet in this case it was not used or something. I'm not sure, but maybe that could be looked into.
Absolutely. That's deeply concerning to me. And we are absolutely diving into the bottom of that to understand exactly what happened there.
Thank you.
Next is a phone number ending in 1802. You'll need to unmute on your end. We are still not hearing you.
Now?
Yep, now we can hear you.
Okay. My name's Dave. I lived at 450 Owl Drive. And I had a company van parked in the garage when it went down. And the company insurance company is asking if they have to send somebody to come and remove the van.
It was in your garage, you said?
Yes.
That could potentially be part of that phase 3 debris removal that we talked about a little bit ago. At this point, we're a ways away from that. So if you want to get in there with your insurance company, and so they can look at the property, you can get them access via that placard system that I mentioned. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Well, it's a total loss. It's scrap metal.
Yeah, most
So-
likely.
Okay. I'll try back later.
Yeah, I would just say, I might encourage you to wait and find out what we're going to do about the coordinated debris removal versus if they're eager to move it out themselves. I mean, you might just inform them that if they might want to look at it, although it, was totaled completely, but if they do, you might just express that, it could be a part of that full coordinated debris removal, in that it was, in the home, in the garage.
Next is Pia.
Hi there. Thank you so much for holding this. I do appreciate it. My home was completely destroyed. I also lived in the townhouses at Owl Drive. And I was just wondering if the city was doing anything in coordination with that HOA. I'm not sure if there were any other townhouses destroyed, and that's kind of separate situation from single family, or if there's anything that from the city's point of view that I should be looking out for with the HOA.
That's a good question. If there's something we can do to help coordinate, we'd be happy to do that. Maybe interim planning director, do you have any thoughts on that?
That's a really good question, Pia. I don't have any initial thoughts, but I will want to give some thought to that just to see what, I think collectively we've been thinking more broadly, but I do want to spend time thinking about how this is going to be different for the multifamily properties relative to the single family properties. So thank you very much for raising that question.
Okay, thank you so much.
Next is DAC 57.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I just wanted to clarify on the placard process. Inspectors, adjusters, whatever, have to get their own placard, or we can get one for them at the church. Is that correct?
Yeah, we'll work with you either way. If they're going to come along with you in your car, you only need one, obviously. It might be easier for them if they're doing multiple properties. And you don't have to go with them. If they're insurance adjusters, they can just show up at Ascent and get a placard, because we assume some of these folks will be going to multiple properties.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Next is Paul. Paul, I think you need to unmute on your end.
Oops, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thanks so much for understanding. I lived at 816 West Mulberry along with my wife and kids, and our home burned to the ground. Had one question and one request for help that I think would be useful for others in our situation as well. The question is pretty straightforward. How do we get into the property with an insurance adjuster now to look at it? We were supposed to go a little earlier today. Our adjuster went earlier and said, hey, there's barricades up. So we didn't go today. But is it all closed down now, or I don't know, maybe you can tell me.
Oh,
I think
Jeff, you're muted.
You're muted, Jeff.
You would think we knew how to do Zoom after all these years. I apologize for that. Yes, so we've maintained access control at these neighborhoods because of the safety concerns that I mentioned earlier, along with we're trying to keep people who aren't supposed to be there away from, looky-loos and those type of things. But if you go by a cent, we can get you a placard to get in. Your insurance adjuster can get a placard there as well. So if you just stop by there, we'll accommodate you. We'll work with you to get you your access that you need. We are limiting the hours to these areas to 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And the reason for that is because there are no street lights in most of these areas. There's no lights in there. There's a lot of hazardous and sharp pointy objects in there. So we're just looking out for people's safety that way. Does that answer your question?
Okay. Yeah, so we need a placard, or can I just use my driver's license, or I need a placard?
They should work with you if you have your driver's license, but it'll be easier for you, and it'll speed things up if you have the placard for other people trying to get in.
Okay. Okay, thanks. And then finally, my request that I think could be helpful to others, it certainly would be helpful to us, concerns insurance. We, like perhaps others, are having some difficulties with insurance companies. I think it could be very helpful and powerful if the Louisville government could contact our state division of insurance on behalf of our residents to advocate for two things. And there may well be many more, but there's two that I think I'm aware of. The first is to ask the division of insurance to do what it can to extend the amount of time insurers need to provide alternative living expenses, which is basically, like put you in a rental house or something, beyond the 12 or 24-month period that appears in many insurance contracts. And I understand that's a regulatory provision under state law. And so the builders we've talked to and everyone I've talked to has said it's not going to be less than 24 months. It's going to be like between 2 to 3 years. So when you look at that additional financial hit to people, it's a big one. And so if there's any way for the Division of Insurance to help extend that period, again, beyond 24 months, that would be extremely important. My own insurance company said, if they did that, we'd kind of be happy to do it. So it almost seems to be inviting that. Anyway, I think that 24-month cap is going to be really hard on a lot of folks. So there's no way houses are going to be rebuilt in 12 months is what we're told. The second and final thing I'd say for that request of the Division of Insurance is, and I don't know what they can do here, but we're in the situation, I think many others are as well, of having trusted our insurance companies to set the right coverage limits. And we're now hearing from builders, there ain't no way that they can rebuild our house, the amount of dwelling coverage that we have. That's heartbreaking, financially very strenuous. And I don't know what Division of Insurance can do, but if there is a pattern or practice of insurance companies under-insuring homeowners such that after a fire, you can't rebuild your house or even half of it for the amount of insurance that they gave you, that's a problem. And we talked, when I was at the Disaster Assistance Center the other day on South Public, talked to the Division of Insurance, they said, well, you should contact us, but if there are, if we discover some kind of pattern of practice where this is prevalent, this is common, maybe there's something that the state could do. I'm certainly going to contact the state individually, and I think others may too, but I think it's more powerful if a city government is contacting the state as well on behalf of its residents. So I would implore you to do that.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Those are great suggestions. I can tell you that the mayor and I had the opportunity to visit with Governor Polis, I think it was Sunday, and the mayor was very clear in expressing these concerns to the governor. The governor committed to have the Division of Insurance oversee these settlements to make sure that they're fair and equitable and getting people the best that we can. There's a couple points that you made though about the living expenses or I guess that's the one that is a new one for me. So that's a great, we'll add that in. Code upgrades is another one that we're looking at. So I want to reach out to them. And then I'm trying to figure out a way with them, Division of Insurance, so that we can have some kind of a way for people who feel like they need some help or they feel like they're being treated unfairly by the insurance companies to report that so it can be specifically looked into by the state. So we are working on that, and I appreciate you for bringing that up.
Thank you. Thank you all for all your help on this and everything else. It's going to be a long road and we're going to need you, but I really appreciate that in our small town. You've already left in to help. It means a lot. Thank you.
Next is Dave.
Hey, this is Kim. We're at 835 West Mulberry. House was also destroyed. My question is pretty similar to one of Paul's comments, but we really appreciate the sentiment to rebuild quickly and safely. But we did get a very rough estimate from a builder recently. And due to the labor and material shortages, that estimate is over twice the max limit that we're insured for, which is probably prohibitive in terms of our ability to rebuild. And so my question is just, are we all kind of just on our own in this? And will other options, if rebuild isn't an option, be provided or thought through? I guess, do you have any advice for that situation?
Interim planner, or planning director Richie, you want to talk about the things you're working on? That would be helpful.
Sure. Yeah. So, we are hearing a lot of reports of the underinsured and, kind of these amounts and the differences between what your insurance cover will offer and what, what these costs to be rebuilding are. So, we're actively trying to kind of develop our own understanding of cost to rebuild and what current codes cost and what new codes cost and what code changes cost. And so we are trying to develop all these numbers ourselves so we understand most effectively what situation you're in and what we can do from our side on the city regulatory side to either, have city council understand and potentially look at some of these as they make their decisions in the coming weeks and months.
Thank you. That's very helpful. This is Dave, Kim's husband. In addition to that, we're also wondering if there's going to be any sort of plan coordination at the city, state, or community level for kind of a larger scale development. Basically, are the individuals on their own on a one-on-one basis to try to contract and quote out multiple builders to build on a certain site if that's the route we choose, or is there going to be a larger coordination kind of along the lines of like building up a new community or a subdivision? I think some level of community development would be very beneficial in terms of coordination and probably cost saving. And we strongly encourage the council members and the community to support that if that's something you guys are willing to help coordinate for everybody.
Yeah, that's a great question as well. So we are, I think from the city's perspective, we are happy to work with kind of whichever paths homeowners and collective neighborhoods desire to go. I think we intend to kind of develop kind of paths and options for kind of either of those tracks, neighborhood wise, kind of hit or maybe a block wide, or maybe just individual homeowners. So I think from our perspective, we will happily accommodate that. I think from a facilitation perspective, I think that's something we're thinking about what is and how, what is the city's role in that over the next coming weeks and months. But we absolutely want the neighborhoods to be, feeling like their wishes and their desires for how to move forward are what's leading the way. And so again, those meetings starting on Tuesday of next week, we will be diving deeper into those types of questions for you all. So great question. We're thinking of it, but more ideas welcome.
Okay, thank you all so much.
Yeah, and our goal is to bring our residents back as soon as possible. That's our higher level. That's where we're operating from. And I know we're having some conversations with larger scale developers to see what their thoughts are, and like was noted, if we can help facilitate those conversations and you guys are interested in that, we're more than willing to engage.
Next is Callie.
Hi there, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Great, thanks so much for doing this. So we live on Crestview Court. We're in a situation where we back to Mulberry and the debris field has come into our garage or into our yard. but did not damage the house. We have quite extensive restoration that has to happen because of smoke and soot. And so we've been meeting with numerous restoration companies. All of them have some subtle differences, but what we can't really seem to understand is really when to start because of the debris that is in our backyard and beyond, and when that will be cleared, and then what happens when that kind of gets kicked up into the air. A lot of the companies say you have to do this type of restoration twice, slightly lesser degree on the second time. But I think our entire cul-de-sac is trying to understand really, truly when it is safe to start and how is that measured? Is there data? Are there soil tests? Are there toxicity tests? And do we kind of jump in with these companies and start and get on the schedule? Or do we wait? And if we wait, are we talking about, 6 months being out and then starting? And how do we navigate that with our insurance company who might say, well, once you get started, you should be back in there in 2 weeks? Like, do you have any input on that?
Muted again. Those are really good questions. And I personally hadn't thought about debris in the backyard of a home that like yours and how we handle that. We are working on some erosion control measures to try to contain these different, all the debris from growing beyond these existing damage areas. So we're working on that. And as far as when to start, we're hoping that over the next week or two, we have a lot more information about how we might get into phase 3. So I think I don't have all the answers right now, but we're working really hard. Debris removal has been one of our top priorities at the staff level to try to move that along. So I hope you can be patient with us for just a little bit as we work through that.
Sure. May I follow up to that?
Sure.
There were we have some Zoom meetings within neighborhoods, and there were some reports of this process that the damage has to be assessed, the level of debris removal has to be assessed, and then that money has to be allocated and distributed before it could start, and that's a 9-month process. Is that accurate information or not?
Working with FEMA is a tricky thing. It does take time to get the reimbursement process approved. We are most of the way through all the damage assessment. Monday, they start the public infrastructure damage assessment. That should only take a couple days. So that has happened very quickly. Normally, the declaration of emergency at the state and federal level doesn't happen until after all those damage assessments. So a lot of things are happening quicker here than they would normally, which is good news. But we're working with our state folks and FEMA folks to get as much as we can for this community as quickly as we can. I haven't heard specifically 9 months, but I don't have a specific time frame. What we've heard, and maybe Deputy City Manager, you can help me on this one, but is more like a 4 to 6 week kind of window, maybe 8 week before we get an answer. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that sounds right. It's going to be a probably 2 or so week turnaround to create the sort of plan or proposal for the coordinated debris, and then a 2 to 3 week proposal process for FEMA to let us know their response on that. And then there may be some refinements, but yeah, if that's what we're hearing in terms of at least knowing that we're going to be able to move forward on that coordinated process.
Okay, does that, and I'm sorry for so many follow-ups, does that mean that when we book with a company, we should direct them, get us in the queue, but do not start anything until we understand what's happening behind us? Or is there some kind of directive? Because that would help with our insurance.
I would, this question came up in our other neighborhood meeting as well, this question about those who have damaged homes in an area where the majority of homes were destroyed and what the implications are for the contaminants and you moving back in. So I think we're going to have to do a little bit more work to kind of understand the recommendations for a timeline for your process. I think, Planner Ritchie, do you agree with that?
I do. I think, in the areas where we had, you know, a lot of collective damage, those might be treated a little differently from an access and timing perspective than some of those little pockets. And particularly kind of, in this section of this call for this neighborhood, we have varying degrees of kind of neighborhood level. So just know that, again, as City Manager Durbin said, this is kind of the highest priority we have, and we should know more as far as timing and what to expect soon.
Thank you so much. And everybody hang in there. Our hearts go out to you.
Yeah, and maybe there's a way we can work with you. I'm just thinking this through. Maybe there's a way we can work with you where they, in your contract, or where they phase this in, where they, in terms of getting back into your home, maybe they can start on some of the interior stuff before they get into that backyard issue. I'm not sure. That might be something to explore with our building and planning folks in your team.
Absolutely. Anyone reach out to us to our department directly, building@louisvilleco.gov or 303-335-4584 if you have specific questions on the condition of your property and how, if and how it's safe to occupy.
Next is P. Harvey.
Hello, thank you for taking time to talk to everybody today. I wanted to reiterate what somebody said earlier about the lack of notification. All of the family has iPhones with emergency notifications turned on. Those were not triggered. We are subscribed to Everbridge and that wasn't triggered. There was no sirens, no notification. We evacuated from Mulberry Street when we saw fire. We probably could have saved more of our possessions if we got better notification. We were potentially lucky in that our house is still standing, but much like is it Carrie just a minute ago, we have properties burned to the ground on two sides of us and properties burned on the other side and grass burned behind us. We're in a situation where our house is extensively smoke damaged and there is a large debris field over the property. We are very uncertain at this stage if we'll be able to move back into the house in a month, 3 months, 6 months, 2 years. We just don't know. And if we can get some clarity about the safety of the air, the safety of the ground, water, if we'd even be allowed to move back into that property, that would help greatly, because right now the insurance company is offering hotels because they say, oh, you're fine, you'll be able to move back in there next week if we're just going to clean it. Well, is that safe to move back into a property that has such a debris field and is so close to those other properties? And once you start scraping, is that going to kick up that potentially toxic debris over the property again? Those are all questions that would be great to get some more clarity on. And if we can get some testing done of the air quality and the level of toxicity and see if it's actually safe to move back in, that would be very helpful for those that still have properties standing that are right up against the burn field.
Yeah, and I'm assuming your property then is in one of the areas that we've referred to as hard closures. Is that right?
So Mulberry Street is not listed as a hard closure anywhere. That's actually a bit of an issue. So on all the lists, Mulberry is listed as open. However,
okay.
The map it's listed, it's a hard closure, but the map doesn't reflect the list. The map also has issues in that houses that are burned to the ground are listed as open, and some houses that are still standing are listed as closed. So the map is not consistent. What's being enforced on the ground is actually like an orange or amber or yellow or whatever, where they're letting you in if you have ID. So there's 3 different things happening. The reality is neither the map nor the list. So it would be good to get some consistency between these 3 so that when we talk to the insurance company, they don't say, well, over here it says it's open. And over here it says it's closed. What is it? So on the map, my house is listed as red. In reality, it's being treated as yellow. And that's making it difficult to deal with the insurance company.
Do you mind sharing your address so planning can look into that?
777 West Mulberry Street.
77?
777.
That's correct.
Yeah, just a little update on that. So, we did our preliminary damage assessments on Friday and Saturday morning, and the maps that are currently publicly available are based on that rapid assessment. Following Saturday, starting on Monday, we went out with, a whole other inspection crew team, and we have been kind of reconfirming and re-updating those. And, initial assessments, sometimes it was hard to tell visually if the house was damaged or destroyed. And, we just we're refining those numbers. And so if that's causing problems for you individually, please do reach out. We can get you better information. We will publish updated maps and lists soon to correct that, but we haven't wanted to publish those kind of each time we heard of an inconsistency, because it creates a lot of confusion out there with public information. So feel free to reach out to building@louisvilleco.gov if you have a specific address and we need to give you information outside of those public maps.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
if our maps are, the public maps that we have out are causing those challenges with your insurance folks, we certainly want to find a way to work around that. So I would encourage you to reach out to our planning and building folks so we can help you resolve that.
And I realize you may not have the information to provide this at this stage, but if you do get some toxicity tests done around the areas that have been burned, that would be very helpful, rather than having every individual person have to do toxicity tests on their property.
Yeah, Boulder County Public Health has air quality monitors out there and is looking at water and groundwater quality issues as well. So stay tuned on that. They're actively working on that right now.
Thank you.
We are running fairly short on time. We'll try and take a few more questions, but we will have to cut it off here soon so we can go to the next meeting. But next in line is Raman. Sorry.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Thanks again for holding this meeting. We are residents. Actually, my mom owns a place in Cherrywood. We were also impacted and our house had burned down. We had tenants that were technically living in there at that time and have lost everything, and we're kind of directing everyone. I was piggybacking on a question that was asked earlier. I believe his name was Paul or David. When they had mentioned that if it takes X amount of time to build a property and or past that, it kind of froze on my end, so I didn't get the full duration of it. Have we or can we go to the governor and see if there is an extension on some of those insurance policies on build? I am also a real estate agent, and we know that even going through a new construction home these days where a builder has everything dialed in, they're still giving 12 to 16 month build times. Whereas this one, in our situation, I honestly think could be 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, if you missed it, I do plan on reaching out to the State Division of Insurance, to have that conversation. Excuse me. And we've talked to the governor about some of these issues, but that's one we haven't hit yet. So I plan on reaching back out on that one.
Perfect. And, it's case by case with insurance. I think it's like 12 or sometimes 24 months, but it's just going to be extremely tough. And I'm also going through the process of having insurance adjusters kind of reach out, and they're just kind of rushing the process. And it feels like they're just wanting to just kind of be done with it and move on to the next person. And we have no guidance. I've never had to go through this. And I appreciate you guys doing this, and any information will definitely help. So thank you.
So one last thought on that. If you haven't stopped by the Disaster Assistance Center, that might be a great place to get some more information.
Yes, sir. We're planning to swing by there. We're hoping to swing by there today. We finally were able to get access to Cherrywood. They were shutting it down for certain locations, and I was also impacted in Superior. I lost my home out there too. It was one of 3 in a neighborhood that burned down. So we've been kind of scrambling and trying to figure out what to do there. So we're planning to go swing by and check that out. In Lafayette, correct?
Yeah, 1755 South Public Road in Lafayette.
Okay, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I would just mention that if you are having specific carrier issues, the Department of Insurance does also have a table with 2 staff members at the Disaster Assistance Center. So you're welcome to stop by there and, talk to them. I think as city manager mentioned, we have some sort of broad policy issues to speak with them about, but specific issues can also be addressed by residents as well.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys.
I think we have time for one more question from Drew.
Hi there. Drew Civilek here. We had a total loss on 107 Vista Lane. We've had a little bit of conversation around debris removal, and it's not entirely clear to me sort of like who's going to be paying for that. And then if that's going to be on the homeowners and our insurance, what steps you're going to be taking to make sure that it falls within our insurance policy limits.
Deputy City Manager Davis.
Sure. Yeah, happy to fill that one. So what we're working on right now is for FEMA reimbursement for that, and that would be our request. In terms of advocacy, we are working to advocate with the federal government and the governor, anyone that we can get that message to, that full reimbursement from FEMA would be ideal in this situation, again, because the contamination, the public health concerns of these sort of tight-knit communities. To do a coordinated kind of comprehensive debris removal would be an ideal approach for many reasons. So that is what we're, that's what we're hoping for. We don't know yet if we will be able to achieve that. If we don't know what considerations FEMA may have for any insurance, portion or proportion. So those are all things that we're learning, that we will, share as soon as we have information about, what that might look like. We do understand and will certainly advocate for the maximum amount of reimbursement that we can possibly get, because we're acutely aware of the underinsurance issues and just the, the cost of building and what people are experiencing with their insurance.
Great. And one small follow-on, I know we're 1 minute over. There's another meeting at 6 o'clock today. For those of us that were directly impacted and we've had these meetings, every minute's precious to us at the moment. Is it worth us joining that meeting, or should we prioritize our time differently?
I was going to give a little overview, so I'll just do that now. The meeting this evening is at 6 p.m. I would say one thing about that meeting, it is a 2-hour meeting. The first block of time will be, the whole meeting will be focused on the entire burn area. So we'll have representatives there from Boulder County Office of Emergency Management, the Disaster Assistance Center, FEMA will have representatives there. So it might be, worthwhile to attend for that portion. And then we'll do, Boulder County Public Health will be there. So if you're interested in hearing more about sort of what the potential requirements for debris removal might look like, you can hear more about that. And then we'll go into a breakout session for Louisville. Some of the content will be the same as what you've heard this evening. And then we'll have some additional updates from like our police chief and our fire chief. So you can think about how to prioritize that. We're pushing any new information out. None of the information tonight will be anything that we won't share through other channels too. So we'll keep sharing that information. And yes, we understand, in addition to the emotional grief that everyone is going through here, it's also a lot of layers and layers of meetings and talking to people and filling out forms, and that is really challenging.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
I think we're out of time for questions. I would tell those of you who haven't had a chance to ask your questions, please use the email address marshallfire@louisvilleco.gov, and someone will answer your email for sure.
Council members, would you like to say any closing words?
Yeah, I would just, again, to reiterate, just tremendous sorrow for people who are going through this. And we're going to do everything we can from a policy perspective from the city council. As you can see, our city staff is doing everything they can to help you every way we can imagine. If you have ideas, please feel free to share them with us. If you missed any of the phone numbers or email addresses, you can go to the City of Louisville website, and at the top, you can click on a link to the Marshall Fire page. And so all of that additional information should be there. We are here for you. We are here to help you. We're going to do everything we can.
And I'll just add to that, that my sympathies and understanding. I also lost my home in this tragedy. And I want to say that all of City Council is supporting you, not just Ward 2 members, it's the mayor and all 6 council members. And I'll also say that I think the city staff, the fire department, the police department, and all, not just Louisville, but all the surrounding communities. We've had people from all over the state coming in to help us out and give us whatever we need. If you need anything, do not hesitate to let us know, and we'll see what we can do to help you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone. And this isn't our last conversation. You'll be hearing more from us, and we'll be hearing more from you, and we will get through this together. Thank you for coming.